Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Speed Street Podcast. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching on YouTube. We appreciate you listening any way you can listen, watching any way you can watch. If you're watching, please subscribe on YouTube. Hey, no big deal, self-plug. If you're listening, feel free to send this show right now to a friend if you're enjoying it, because that's how the word gets out. We have had a great interview already that you will love with this previous weekend's most recent IndyCar winner, the NTT IndyCar Series winner. Scott Dixon is on the show today. It's always great to talk to one of the greatest IndyCar drivers of all time. Incredible chat with him. We have a lot of news to discuss. We have ratings that came out to discuss. That will be an interesting discussion as usual. We have another race coming up this weekend. We are so thankful for. Finally, we get some back-to-back race weekends. We're very, very excited about that. But yeah, many, many things to get into. So with that being said, Chase, co-host Chase, producer Bobby is still traveling across Europe, and he's still able to produce this show for us. Chase, how you doing? Did you enjoy Long Beach? Are we happy?
Man, let me tell you what. I had a good time watching that race this weekend. Saw you had yourself a good time out there. 2 weeks in a row to have some IndyCar. Very good. Like I said, as a NASCAR guy, I'm used to I'm expecting Sunday, get out there. Well, I understand that it's different in IndyCar, but for the first weekend where it's back-to-back, I'm pretty happy right now. And I'm ready for Barber, too. Barber is the closest track to where I'm at, my neck of the woods, and I've been there once, went there last year. Scott McLaughlin won that race. Crazy race there, too. So, yeah, really just really looking forward to this weekend and seeing IndyCar come on down yonder to the south.
No, we love it. We have so much to get into from Long Beach, so I want to get into it. I'd like to go through a little bit of the results, which I'm going to pull up. We like to read off the race results just to make sure everyone knows what was going on. I would also like to actually read the qualifying results as well. So because I think there were a few interesting stories in qualifying. Pole position being Felix Rosenqvist. My goodness, great showing from Felix. He has had a very, very strong year of qualifying. I mean, this year so far, I think there was he hasn't qualified outside the top three, and that's kind of incredible.
He's a pole star.
He is, yes, he is indeed. So let me go to these qualifying screenshots real quick. So here's starting lineup. All right, so Felix Rosenqvist on the pole, Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Colton Herta, Marcus Ericsson. Now again, if we look back at our weekend predictions, I had the Andretti guys, Kyle Kirkwood and Colton Herta. Colton did end up on the podium. I feel like that counts. But anyway, let's continue to the grid. Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott Dixon, Marcus Armstrong, Kyle Kirkwood, Scott McLaughlin. I would say I was a little bit surprised. Scott McLaughlin, he said he maybe had a bit of a mistake on his lap. He was looking quite fast all weekend. Graham Rahal in the top 12. Great effort from him. Great effort qualifying from him. Alex Rossi was very, very disappointed with his effort in 13th, but he still outqualified his teammate, Pato. I would say in general, the McLaren weekend overall was tough. Tough for them. Very surprising for me, honestly. Tom Blomqvist, 15th. Probably, honestly, good effort for him. Solid from Tom. Romain Grosjean was 16th. Linus Lundqvist, Rinus VeeKay, Pietro Fittipaldi, Augustine Canapino, Christian Rasmussen. Both the ECR cars, that's about where we've qualified there forever, ever since I was there. So that, sadly, there's no difference there. I think I qualified 14th one year, and we thought that was a win. So tough track for that group. Theo Pourchaire, Teddy Chairs, I'm going to call him. Teddy Chairs qualified. Teddy Chairs was 22nd. Jack Harvey, Santino Ferrucci, Stingray Billy Bob, Kiffin Simpson, and Nolan Siegel. So again, what I would say is most interesting about that grid is the Foyt cars who have a relationship with Penske. Santino qualified decent in the last two races, had some decent efforts off in Long Beach. Tough weekend for them. And that's surprising considering they do have, information from cars that qualified 2nd, 3rd, and 11th. So that was interesting. But yeah, when it comes to any surprises on the grid, not much other than McLaren, I would say. I'm still surprised that McLaren haven't been able to, let's say, get all 3 of their cars. I mean, Teddy Chairs, there's no way he was going to get in the top 6 for his first race. It's difficult, but good effort from him. And then so qualifying, again, I want to talk real quick about Felix Rosenqvist. I think he did an amazing job. That team, I'm so happy for the Meyer Shank racing team as well. I truly appreciate those guys as a group. They treated me so kindly, even over the weekend. And I don't even drive for their manufacturer. They're Honda, I'm Chevy, and I'm wearing all my team gear, and they still let me in. They gave me coffees, just some of the greatest people. And I've only driven 2 races for them. So,
hell yeah.
Really, really appreciate those guys. I have a lot of respect for them and love to see. After driving their car at Mid-Ohio last year on a road course, I was like, this is incredible. I was like, I am not surprised at all that they are on pole. So even a year later. So let's go to the race results before we get into some more details about qualifying. Race results: Scott Dixon, winner. Colton Herta. All right, I'll take it. I believe I had this in my predictions, so I wasn't too far off. Colton Herta on the podium. Alex Palou also on the podium. Honda sweep. Joseph Newgarden probably should have been on the podium, but he got nerfed by Colton Herta. Absolutely love that. I wish they would have got into fisticuffs afterwards. I wish they would have punched each other in the face. That would have been great for ratings. Would have been great for SportsCenter, potentially.
Praying for a fight.
Oh, man, praying for a fight. That would have been sweet. Joseph Newgarden 4th. Marcus Ericsson 5th. Another great effort from an Andretti Global car. Will Power, Kyle Kirkwood. Romain Grosjean. Great effort from him. Top 10 for the Juncos Racing boys. I think they were thrilled about that. We had Felix Rosenqvist went pole to 9th. Now, again, that's not the direction you want to go. I don't know what exactly happened there. I do know that Felix had put out on the internet that he had some brake issues, so maybe there's some technical stuff there that he was struggling with. And top 10, Alex Rossi. Now, Alex Rossi, he went through a lot. He got hit by his teammate, had to come in with a flat tire. But I actually, at the beginning of the race, this is kind of interesting how IndyCar strategies work at times. When he pitted for that flat tire, I turned to my girlfriend, Amy, next to me. I said, I think Alex is still going to have a decent day. Because sometimes when you pit that early, you get on a different fuel cycle. You're able to push a little bit harder at different times. He got the yellow eventually that he needed to kind of get rid of some of that gap that he had. Ends up in the top 10. Alex was all the way down in 27th, and he ended up in the top 10. So that's a solid day for Alex after what was basically at the start an absolute disaster. So let's go into the 11th position, which was Teddy Chairs. Teddy Chairs, 11th. Theo Pourchaire.
Whoa.
Great debut for him, honestly. Got to be proud of him. Hang on, let me take this mic off really quick. I just realized I got to take this mic off. I gave you a pause there to cut, Bobby. Is that right? Actually, we could keep this in the show.
I'm just going to leave this in the show. This is the official in the show cut of the show.
I'm getting unmiked from 100 Days to Indy. They were filming our show today, and I've got to take this mic out.
You should watch it.
No, this is part of the show. On Peacock. This might be on television. So CW,
thank
you.
On Netflix. Right,
thank you guys. Yeah, okay, cool. We're leaving that in the show. Leave that in. We're at 11th place, getting my mic taken off for 100 Days to Indy. They are filming me at my house today. You might see this on television. Who knows? All right.
Action.
Yeah, Teddy Chairs was 11th. Marcus Armstrong, 12th. Linus Lundqvist, 13th. Renus VK, 14th. Augustine Canapino, 15th. Pato O'Ward, 16th after a drive-through penalty. Yikes. Graham Rahal, 17th. Stingray Billy Bob, 18th. Kiffin Simpson, 19th. Nolan Siegel, Santino Ferrucci, Tom Blomqvist, Christian Lundgaard, Pietro Fittipaldi, Jack Harvey, Scott McLaughlin, Christian Rasmussen. So, again, there's a few things there to talk about. A couple surprises, couple not surprises. First issue of the day for sure. Felix got overtaken right at the beginning by Will Power. Will Power, boom, he's going. Impressive day for Will Power, honestly. Like right from the start, he was looking good. Strategy probably was, something that didn't work out for them. But Felix kind of kept just going slowly backwards, and I was very surprised. Not maybe as defensive as I was expecting him to be, as he was going a little bit backwards. And then the yellow comes out. Christian Rasmussen ends up in the wall. Tough corner where he crashed. Hated it for him as a driver. That's tough to see. Rookie, trying to have a good day. But that corner is a tough one. I know that car is hey, I'm not going to say anything else about that, but I hate it for Christian because he's a good kid and I think he's a good driver. So that was tough. But that created immediately a strategy play. All right, you saw some people pit, some people didn't, depending on what tire you were on, really. Now that immediately, flips the race on its head, right? You had guys that were way at the back, all of a sudden now in the top 10. You had Teddy Chairs in the top 10. You had Nolan Siegel in the top 10. You had Stingray Robb running 8th for a while. I mean, they might have sent out a press release right then. That was a big moment. But they were on different strategies, running light, trying to run long on the primary tire. Colton Herta went the longest on that first stint. Colton Herta took the lead, went quite long. I thought he was going to end up in a good spot. I actually tried to get some information on how long Colton went compared to like Dixon, and so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, interesting switch up of positions. You had folks running at the Newgarden pit, and we're like, okay, is this going to work out? This is a very typical IndyCar race. I think a lot of people were like, oh, it wasn't that great till the last 5 laps. Well, it's like there were so many people that complained at thermal, and I understand why. But there was some overtaking in this race, and I enjoyed it. But there was also a lull where there wasn't. Now, I was at the race, so I could see some in the middle of the pack that was happening, which I thought was good. And again, I do hope and wish that the TV broadcast might see that a little bit more. And it's a little bit different to what the broadcast is that we get at the track, I think, as well, the track feed. I'm not entirely sure. But overall, I thought it was a good race. You had some excitement at the end. You had some strategic plays in the middle. You had some guys fighting all throughout the field. And then we had some interesting penalties to talk about as well. Pato O'Ward with a drive-through for hitting Alex Rossi, his teammate. Pato did not get a drive-through, though, when he took out Dixon, who won this race. That, I would say, I'm a little bit confused about, but I'm glad that we are setting the standard, because if you hit someone like that and you ruin their day, there has to be a penalty for it, because that's what we do. Like, there are rules to this sport. Some people might disagree. Like, NASCAR, if people wreck each other, there's nothing ever happens, right? Sometimes there's some fines and some stuff like that, but realistically, results aren't taken away. There's no big penalties. But I do believe, like in our sport, like we see in Formula One, if someone basically intentionally or unintentionally, accidentally runs into someone, I'm sorry, but there's a penalty for making mistakes. So I was happy to see that. I would expect the same if I were to hit a driver like that. And then the Christian Lundgaard penalty was an interesting one. Christian Lundgaard got released from the pits, an unsafe release. And the penalty on track, I didn't hear it at the time because I'm watching at the track and I wasn't able to listen to the broadcast. But he had to let 5 people by, which I had not seen before, if I'm honest. I don't remember seeing that in the past because I thought he had a problem. I was like, oh no, Christian's got an issue. Like, he's getting passed by people. But him having to just yield 5 positions, I actually don't mind that because it's not
new?
that. I think it's new. Yeah, I think it's new.
Because, of course, I have never seen it before, but yeah. I noticed the same thing. I was just like, because I was trying to keep up with it. I'm like, dang, that's a thing here? I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So I actually didn't mind that because if he would have got a drive-through, that really ruins the day. Now, he still ended up at the back. I believe they had an issue for something, but it wasn't a day killer. Like, obviously, he can't do much about the safe release thing. That's not on him. That's a team communication thing. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, that was something maybe we'll have to pay attention to in the future. If anyone else has an unsafe release, just remember, hey, it might not be a drive-through. It's going to be 5 places apparently, which I do not mind. I do not mind that at all.
I need to get my hands on a rule book. I want an official rule book.
There you go. We'll get you a rule book. But let's say, so lap leaders, Joseph Newgarden led a lot of the race. Will Power led a lot of the race until Scott Dixon got up front. Now, the strategy that worked was the two-stop strategy. The highest finishing driver on the three-stop, which was interesting, was Alex Rossi. He forcibly had to do a three-stop. He pitted very early. It worked out for him. He got the yellow. Sometimes that's why people do that. Sometimes that's why you see cars that start 26, 27 pit like lap 3, 4, so they can really take advantage of a yellow when it does come out. Alex was able to do that. But Chase, I want to get your thoughts on, now that we've kind of gone through all the results, we've gone through everything, what was kind of your overall impression of the race, what you saw, some of the activities that were going on?
Let me tell you, for it to actually be the first race, so obviously it was on USA, so didn't have to watch it on Peacock. I was at the house. I got to turn it on the big screen. Very nice. I got me one of those little Roku boxes so I can get Peacock now. So we're good. But yeah, watching it, man, like for one, broadcast was great. I was thoroughly entertained through the entire race. I love strategy races. So, big chess, not checkers guy. Really enjoyed kind of like understanding a little bit more, and it really not really understanding anything at all. Like I've seen it before plenty of times, but just to kind of be back in the saddle of like, oh, wow, okay, so this matters again. Like there was a lot of beating and banging. So the beating and banging was huge, right? So especially with my audience online, a lot of NASCAR followers, So I'm like, who says that they don't beat and bang in IndyCar? And I got to show some of that off a little bit, like a little fighting here and there with the wheels. So that was always a good thing to see. Get a little bit of drama, a little bit of action in the race, but just out of the I guess the way that it all shook out and watching how it really is, it's a marathon, not a sprint type of a deal, where Scott Dixon can start where he started, and just goes to show how the entire team effort comes together to get you to that point. You'll see that at some races in NASCAR, but not many. It's way more, visible when you're watching IndyCar races. So for me, it was just a lot of just excitement. And I think this was like the first race this season where that's really like out there now for people to watch and consume. So the replay is on YouTube. If you didn't get to watch it, go watch it.
No, you're right. And honestly, shout out to the crowd in Long Beach as well. I handed out several Speed Street stickers. I did hand out some show stuff, which is great. I got to respect those who asked me for a sticker, because I wasn't necessarily going to pass them out like pamphlets or free samples of a drink or something like that.
Oh, dude, we should get pamphlets, bro.
We should get pamphlets. These are like similar to pamphlets, but to those who really follow and pay attention on the internet, and you saw that I had stickers and you asked them, and I reached into my backpack and I gave them to you. Thank you. We love that. We appreciate you listening to the show.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Colton Herta maybe at the end. Colton Herta, there's a bit of a debate there on him basically just going bumper to bumper with Joseph Newgarden. Now, Joseph Newgarden was probably setting up Scott Dixon for a bit of a pass at the end. Now, I did not know this, but this was a very fun fact to know that Scott Dixon will tell us in his interview. But Scott Dixon told us that he had actually trimmed out for the race, which means he had run with a little bit less rear downforce, meaning more straight line speed. Now, that is something that Long Beach that can be a massive help for overtaking. More difficult in the slower corners, more difficult through that middle section of the track. But when I noticed that it was tough for Newgarden to get a run, that is a reason why. Scott was running lower downforce, so that was helping him out a lot. But the Colton Herta incident with Joseph, that's the nature of that corner. That is the tightest corner, I think, really in motorsport. We're going full lock with our hands. It's really hard for us to tell, actually. It's hard to actually have that much control when you've got the wheel fully torqued like that as well. And you're hoping that the car turns mechanically quite well, because you're only going, 40, 50 miles an hour. You're not relying on wings at all. You've got to make sure you're just purely relying on mechanical turn. And when you have to get as close as possible to the car in front of you so you can get a run on the exit. And that's what Colton was doing. Now, Joseph was doing the same thing, but trying to get an even straighter exit. And sometimes that requires a little bit slower of a minimum speed at the apex to be straighter off that corner to try to get a run on Dixon. So Colton, I do not believe that's not intentional at all. Now, he probably was super pumped that happened because he's like, well, there I go. I got my guy. You know what I mean? So, and the fact that Colton wasn't penalized for that, I guess I was a little bit surprised about, because it didn't wreck Joseph's day. But the fact that it wasn't penalized, I guess, means that, hey, we can maybe nudge a little bit. You know, we can maybe bump uglies a little bit and just kind of get away with it. So I guess that's okay. If I was Joseph, I would be very upset. But Joseph still finishes fourth. So that's obviously good for him. But for a while, when I was watching that race, I was like, we're about to interview Joseph Newgarden again, and he's going to be undefeated on the races that are worth points in the year. We were talking about Joseph Newgarden being undefeated, but as IndyCar races go, anything can happen. So,
yeah, business is business at the end of the day.
Business is business, yeah.
I did want to say too, I feel like in that situation, like it's very I guess it's like up to you to decide like what was what, and you don't really know unless somebody tells you exactly like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. You got to feel like when you stack up like that, though, you kind of understand physics a little bit. You kind of know how things are going to move. So it's like, who's to say that you should penalize that or not? Because without you giving that direct response, I think we saw this in NASCAR with Denny a few times, you know, where in certain situations, you kind of can tell, like if you're a driver, you know that this is probably going to happen to the person there. But if he was doing the same thing, that's a racing thing, right?
Exactly, yeah. That's sometimes motorsport, two guys trying to get the best out of the exit of that corner. And what happened to Joseph, for those that don't know now, I just want to make sure we get real technical talk here for a second. So when Colton's wing goes under Joseph's rear tires, we are at such a low speed in that corner anyway that when he basically gets under Joseph like a shovel, it stops the rear tires briefly, which puts the car into anti-stall mode. Now, anti-stall mode means that you're no longer in gear, so Joseph couldn't drive off the corner. But what Joseph has to do, that anti-stall is it's difficult. You see it in F1 sometimes when they spin. You see on the dashboard, it says anti-stall, anti-stall, anti-stall. We have the same thing on our dash. I would say over the years, the manufacturers have definitely improved anti-stall. It's designed to where, like, if you're coming out of the pits and it doesn't quite go, it's supposed to keep you from killing the engine. Now, leaving the pits, I've stalled leaving the pit box before, so it doesn't always work. But in that situation, it did for Joe. It could have gone worse. It could have killed the engine completely, but it didn't. But what you have to do then is fully engage the clutch and then release the clutch again. So that takes time, and in that time, Joseph got passed by two people. But he had to fully engage and disengage the clutch to then reset, get back in gear, and go. And that's sometimes hard to drive or hard to do when you're in the thick of things. So that's kind of technically what happened. But it really changed the dynamic at the end of the race. I'm sure Dixon was thrilled. Dixon probably was able to, at the end of that straight, do a massive breathe and save fuel. But one thing that I thought was interesting that I'd like to talk about, Scott Dixon making fuel. I had done a little bit of research and tried to see how far his last stint was. Now, I noticed that Colton Herta's stint at the beginning, he seemed to have gone the longest after a yellow. His was like 31 laps, I think, that's a long stint, 31 laps, but that was with the help of a yellow. Now, Dixon at the end, I think, did at least 33 laps with no yellow. That is very impressive. So I don't know how he does that. We asked him a little bit about it. He's very good at what he does. I would say there are several people who could not do what he did. He also was able to do that from the lead too, which is tough because you're getting pushed by these cars that do have more fuel than you. So
it's experience.
It's experience. And I ask him a lot about this. Scott Dixon drives a very free car. He likes to drive the car where the rear is very, very loose, some would say.
Sounds like a dirt boy right there. That's what it sounds like.
Exactly. So when Scott Dixon is carrying speed, he's used to the rear being a little bit unstable. Now, when you're trying to save fuel, the goal is to lift very early, let the car coast, and use less brake. Now, sometimes that destabilizes the car a little bit on entry, because when you use the brake to, you hit the brake hard, you slow the car down, but it also stabilizes it sometimes. So you use the brake to stabilize the car on entry. You use the brake to turn. Scott doesn't really need to use the brake as much to turn. He has a car that turns so well mechanically because he can drive a very loose car that he's able to just use less brake overall because he's used to that car being free. So I think Scott Dixon's style, his driving abilities, and what he likes in the car help him so much to save fuel that it's almost unmatched. I don't think I've ever seen anyone make the fuel like he does and continue to roll the speed that he does. And as someone who has tried to save fuel before, now I was able to save fuel very, very, very well in the era of the aero kits where we had way more downforce, because downforce helps you control the car, gives you more grip, gives you more ability. And when I saved fuel in like the 2016, 17 era, like I was really good at it. I would say I struggled more in the Aeroscreen days because it's just a little bit of a different platform. So Scott's never struggled, which is amazing. So very, very cool to see how that worked out for him. Scott Dixon winning is not a surprise at all. We knew he was going to win one at some point. But yeah, I enjoyed the race. And I want to hear what everyone else thinks of it too. I had a couple people say, oh, you thought that was a good race? I know everyone at some point is not going to enjoy the race, right? We know that. We get it.
You're not like us.
I heard from everyone at Thermal. I know. But a couple quick notes as well, just before we get into a couple other things that was going on. Jack Harvey was racing for Dale Coyne. I don't know if we talked about that because we hadn't quite did the show. Well, we did the show pretty early on in the week last week. But good to see Jack Harvey in the car. However, he got caught in that wreck with Christian Rasmussen. That was such a shame. He basically finished the race with a giant hole in his side pod. That was brutal. A couple technical issues as well. Scott McLaughlin had a bit of a tech issue, was not able to finish. Mechanical issue. That's a shame. Graham Rahal had a fueling issue, so there's definitely some things. I would say more mechanical activities happening this year than I would have said last year. I know I had a pit stop issue in my Long Beach race last year. We had like a minute-long pit stop because the air jack didn't work. But obviously no one ever noticed that. They just thought we finished bad. But yeah, there was a few things that definitely took people out of contention, which was interesting. Let's talk a little bit about Teddy Chairs. Teddy Chairs finished 11th. Theo Pourchaire, last year's F2 champion. He has to be proud about that. That's a great job for him. He didn't make a mistake. Just slowly worked his way forward. Enjoyed the racing. I got to respect that. So good for Teddy Chairs.
Old T-Chair.
His McLaren teammates, Pato, boy, tough start for Pato. That was a difficult one. Alex Rossi as well. I think that McLaren team. I'm very curious to see what happens. I think they'll be. I hate to say it, like we're gonna have to make Alabama predictions. I just want to let you know that, Chase. This week we're gonna make Alabama predictions.
Okay. I
don't know when I should predict McLaren. I don't know yet. I would like to see more. I would love to drive for McLaren, so that would be amazing. But I am right now a speculative man, so all I can do is speculate on what's going on. I'm a media member, so I got to say hi to Zach Brown over the weekend. Great to see Zach Brown. Great to see
chicken fried.
Some folks there. But yeah, I just interesting to see. I thought we would have seen some more, just some more. So I think Barber, maybe Barber's their weekend. I don't know. Who else was, do you have like a dog of the week, Chase? I have a dog of the week. If you'd like to, basically listen to who I thought was the dog of the week. Do you have one that you would consider your dog of the week? This is probably a segment that we're copying, but we used to do Milk, Dog, and Yikes as a segment. I can think of a couple different people that we want to say yikes for, but, who's your dog of the week? I'm going to go mine. Mine is, Romain Grosjean. I got to say, Romain Grosjean puts that thing in the top 10, made up some spots, finally had a clean day, happy for that Juncos team, Juncos Hollinger. I like those guys a lot. That's a great group of people. Ends up in the top 10. He gets my dog of the week. What about you?
I'm gonna kind of like jump out of the context of your typical dog. I'm gonna go more into just like that Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Rick Ross beef right now dog.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Colton Herta, dog of the week. He put that wing there and he went. So he was dogging him. So I'll give it to Colton.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about before we get into 4 minutes of fun, because we're going to have a great time. I have so many subjects to talk about.
I've got some fun for us today.
I do too. Let's talk about the ratings. Now, this is a tough one. This is a tough one to talk about. Ratings were released just today. Now, again, this is an IndyCar program. We want to be respectful. But let's say the ratings were not great. USA Network got 307,000 viewers for Sunday's race at Long Beach. Now, they were going up against the Cup race, which is near impossible for us right now. We do not have the power to do that.
It's a Dega week, too.
Dega week, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of viral videos from Dega that we can't really talk about on a nice family program, but a lot of things went on at Dega that were, people were excited about. But this is also tough because our first race, obviously NBC, and second race, Thermal, NBC, right? Like NBC, good network, and then USA. So it's always going to be a bit of a drop. Now, I asked producer Bobby to do a little research for us. I said, let's do a little research just to compare, because NASCAR also does an NBC and USA split, right? So I kind of just wanted to go with, let's say that the highest NBC race versus the highest USA race for NASCAR. And then I wanted to go to the lowest NBC race for NASCAR and the lowest USA network race, just to kind of put things in perspective, the differences between network and cable. Like, so when you go from big NBC to USA. Now, I think this is a fascinating document. There's fascinating interest. So last year, NBC's highest rated race was Chicago, 4.62 million. NBC's lowest was 2.19 million Las Vegas. So both of those numbers are still very large. Now, here's what's interesting. USA's highest was 2 million viewers less than NBC's highest. Now, that's a huge drop-off, but it's still 2.81 million. Now, USA's lowest race was 1.03 million. Now, again, quite a drop off. You still have almost like millions of people are watching racing less when they're not on a network. So that is tough. But let's put that in comparison, right? So St. Pete this year, St. Pete, NBC, we almost got to 1 million people, right? We had 0.975 million for NBC. Now, let's just round up to 1 million, just to be nice to ourselves. So let's say 1 million people watch NBC at St. Pete. Now, let's compare that to our USA Network, 307,000. So we had a 700,000 fan drop off. Now, that's not as much as NASCAR, but we don't start from as high of a number. But just to put that in perspective, there is always going to be a drop off, but that's a lot, and I don't. That's really that's like kind of what like NBCS. We used to see some NBCSN numbers that were tough way back in the day, but now we have to be honest. I hate to see this. We want to aim for that million number every weekend, right? We really want to do that. I struggle with this a lot. Someone already tweeted me saying that I was going to have a stroke when I saw this number. I have not had a stroke.
He is in fact alive.
I am in fact alive. But man, Chase, I don't know. Like obviously Talladega, when you're going up against Talladega, that's an impossible. That is tough. Like if we think going up against the NFL is bad later in the season, going up against Talladega for like NASCAR fans, we're like, that's a big one for them. So, and we want to try to be able to get some of those NASCAR fans because they're already watching motorsport. Those are the people that I think probably could convince to watch our sport most easily. You even had F1 get 670,000 people watch on ESPN2 at 3 a.m. Eastern time. The Chinese Grand Prix from Shanghai got 630,000 people at 3 a.m. So
look, I'll put it this way, man.
That's tough. That's tough. That's what's happened.
It is, but I mean, it's like it's what we still got to ride the wave, I guess is the best way to put it, right? When in terms of NASCAR fans, F1 fans, we got to implement more culture in the IndyCar series. You get more culture in the IndyCar series, that's going to help with the NASCAR. Yeah. The NASCAR flow. The culture is all the Indy 500. Yeah.
Care for your guys and girls on the grid. Like we got to get more of that. Like it's cool to watch IndyCar, right? Because like people are watching F1 because they think it's cool. They got a Netflix show. NASCAR is just NASCAR. It's powerful. If you ask anyone if you tell anyone in America you drive race cars, they're like, is that NASCAR? That's like what everyone in America, the entire country thinks.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough. It's tough, too, because you also already have another open-wheel racing series with F1, too. So it's like, that's what I love about, being over here now with IndyCar is that I love a good fight. Like, I love a good, hard fight. And so to be wedged between already having a dominant open-wheel racing series in the world as F1 and then having NASCAR being the primary in F1, what sets you apart from both of them? And I think we've had enough conversations now to really dive in. A lot of podcast episodes you can go back and listen to where Connor and I both talk about a lot of these specifics. But the big one that I'm seeing right now really is just like Long Beach, the attendance was great, right?
Oh, huge crowd. I mean,
like a sold-out crowd, essentially.
We had almost 200,000 people at the Long Beach race, right? Like that's the second year in a row seating was sold out. Huge. 200,000 people. That means that only 100,000 more were watching the race. Like, so that it's wild to think that, if you have that many people there, like that means they must care about the event or IndyCar racing at some point.
Yeah.
But then only 300,000 watch it. It's very hard for me to believe. Like
they like the vibe.
Like 300,000. Yeah, like 300,000 people watching on television. There's a miscommunication somewhere because our attendance, I truly believe, like St. Pete again was fantastic. That looked great. People are always there. The Indy 500 is looking like it could almost sell out, which is the biggest event in the world. So I think it's purely just the awareness factor. And we talk about this so many times. Like we're beating a dead horse like it's been just trampled
20 episodes, yeah.
Yeah, but I was in a group chat today and we're just surprised because like I do believe that we're doing a better job. I do believe that IndyCar social channels are doing work. I do believe that what we have available to people is a great product. I believe that our drivers are great drivers, which they are. I have no idea what it takes for people to turn on this event. I don't get it. And it's becoming even more confusing to me because I think a lot of people a lot of what people just shout from the hilltops, like, oh, we got to get better marketing. Like, dude, we are doing better marketing now. Like there is a better social channel. Like we have better social strategies. Like that is happening. So it's not like there's not work being done. And I like everyone has an opinion on why, like, series is doing this. It's like, but those
it's
are
way more than marketing. It's way more than marketing.
It is more than marketing, I think, but I do believe that with our attention spans in the modern world, people's attention spans are so short that you either have to drench their minds with it, you either have to play it on every single commercial network. You have to buy social ads on every single platform for every single demographic, for every single group of people, because until you get it to be like a common, we know basketball's a thing. We know football's a thing. We know footballs are on Sunday. You know what I mean? We know NASCAR racing is on Sunday. I truly believe that more races will help us. I believe that more of a consistent schedule will help us. I do believe that is a big downfall. But let's just keep trying ourselves. I mean, the people that are listening to this show, again, are probably, we appreciate you. But we need
Tons.
every person who listens to this show, which again, it's a good group. We need like 10 of your friends to watch every weekend. You know what I mean? Like that's how much we need to do like person to person, marketing. We got to do our jobs, do it best we can. But, that'll do a little bit, but we just have to, when you put it in front of a greater group of people that just don't know that it's on, which it seems stupid to say, because if you follow any driver, if you follow any part of the series, you have to know that the race is on, because everyone posts about it all the time. So people saying that they don't know it's on, but they're on social media, like, well, then is everyone muted? I don't know. So it's just kind of a wild deal. So
they make notifications. That is a thing.
We had to talk about it.
You can't control that. I mean,
we had to talk about it. We know it's a concerning number, but I hope that putting in perspective the drop from network to cable to USA, like that is a thing. That's always going to happen, but it is a scary number. It's a scary number to look at, but thankfully we've got, Barber this weekend. We can build some continuity. Hopefully we can run ads all week long. We're going to do our job on this show to help people, but yeah, that's what was happening, Chase. I don't know.
It's going to get better. I'm telling you, I got that mentality that makes some people just want to just like tell me to shut up. But it's like, it's the mentality that I've had for a long time, and it works. And, it's a marathon, not a sprint, kind of like Scotty D's race this past weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how I keep it, and that's why we win at the end of the day, baby.
Yeah. So let's before we get to the 4 minutes of fun, real quick, for the 4-time Indy 500 champions. Zach Brown was at Long Beach, obviously a very large personality in motorsport right now, head of McLaren. Got to say hi to Zach, and he has been he put a lot of ideas for growth out to IndyCar at a press conference. I believe he is being tapped to be a part of the marketing strategy, which I think is smart. He said a lot of things that are hard to hear, but we need to hear them. It's a lot of things that a lot of us want to say, I believe. So it's interesting. Not everything that is going to be done, if it is done, is going to make everyone happy. It's going to be hard. But sometimes that means better results at the end of the day. It's the same thing for now, this is not the same thing, but I find going to the gym every day, almost twice a day, very hard. But I want to be the best racing driver that I can be. So I'm going to go to the gym and bust my butt so I can be the better racing driver. Is it fun? Not really, but it helps me be the best racing driver I can be. It helps me be the most athletic driver that I can be. So again,
it's just something you do now.
Sometimes
it's something you do.
Yeah, it is hard sometimes to do like what you want to. It's hard to do that. So I believe there will be decisions made over the next couple of years for sure that are going to be hard for fans to take, hard for us to take. But I do believe that there are a lot of smart people that are working on this, and I do trust them. I do. I'm riding with them. So, and Zach Brown, part of F1. I didn't watch any F1 over the weekend. It was at 3 a.m. I didn't see a single thing. Max Verstappen won, of course, again. So I will give them credit, though. This is your 28 seconds of F1. I enjoyed the sprint race. I thought there was some great racing in the F1 sprint race at China. There's your 30 seconds of F1. I enjoyed seeing some cars go side by side. Little Fernando Alonso battle. That was sweet. We got to respect him for that. I will say we've said F1 doesn't have a lot of racing, but man, I actually enjoyed the heck out of the sprint race. So good to see that 15 minutes. That was all I had. So
shout out to Tyler Reddick.
Shout out Tyler Reddick for winning
2 seconds of NASCAR.
Cup Series. That was crazy. The NASCAR Talladega finish. I watched the Xfinity one too, where you almost had my guy Joey Gase almost finishing in the top 3. You had half the Alpha Prime cars in the top 5. You had a lot of underdogs up at the front there. That's what I love about Talladega sometimes. Yes, it's just a giant crash festival, but it's fun to see who ends up surviving at the end. It's fun, dude. Cars are finishing upside down on fire. It's crazy. But yeah, Talladega is a wild one. I would love to go there someday.
Michael Jordan celebrated in Talladega Victory Lane, by the way.
That's huge for NASCAR. My gosh, it ends up being all these sports shows. Michael Jordan. I mean, oh man,
Yeah, that's it.
They had 4 million people watching again. Yeah, I know.
They see.
Anyway, I'm glad Zach Brown was at our race, though, because he's a big Netflix guy. So anyway, that's what we had. They have Michael Jordan. We had Zach Brown. Boom. That's what we're trying to do. A lot of celebs at the Long Beach race, though. I saw a lot of celebs. A lot of folks were there moving and shaking. Was pretty cool. Let's get into 4 minutes of fun for the 4-time Indy 500 champions. I have some things to say. Chase, I'm actually should I go first, or would you like to go first this time?
I'm going to go first today.
Let's switch it up.
My 4 minutes of fun does have to do with this weekend coming up at Barber Motorsports Park.
All right, hang on. I'm going to start the clock. Ready?
All right.
Okay, 4 minutes of fun has begun for the 4-time Indy 500 champions.
Okay. All right. On Chase's 4 minutes of fun this week, we're going to talk about Barber Motorsports Park and statues.
Okay.
I have some things to say. I have so many questions. Went to Barber Motorsports Park last year. Great time. However, was low-key kind of creeped out. There's some statues that are there that I don't really understand. I need to understand more of the history about them. You've got dudes from the movie Hercules riding on unicycles. You've got flowers, statues, like in like nature.
Oh, yeah.
Like they are flowers. There's an elf girl just in the water, a giant elf girl in the water.
Yep.
There's ants, gigantic iron ants. And then there's an ant trying to drink a Coca-Cola as well there out at Barber. You've got tigers, spiders, unicycle men, and giant elf woman in the water. And I just need to know why. I need to know why this is a thing, or who did this? You know, is this a sign? Was there ever Mount Olympus activity in Birmingham, Alabama at any point? The Greek gods, did they visit? Do they like ants and spiders? I don't know, Connor. I don't know. How do you feel?
There's a lot of history behind that track. The owner is a very, very wealthy man. Barber is at a beautiful facility. You got to go. These statues are sweet. Like, is it weird? Yes.
We like weird.
But they got great grass. The grass looks great.
The grass is great.
And the statues are neat. So I can't fault them for that. Can't fault them for that at all.
I just want to know the history. I want to know the lineage. So I had that. And then the next thing that I had that was going to be coming up for was actually going to be about the Bass Pro Shop at the top of the mountain.
You and Scott Dixon are going. Stay tuned later for that date to get set up.
I guess this is happening. So, that drive up the mountain can be kind of scary. I just want to warn anyone that's going this weekend, don't be afraid. Drive up the mountain. It's worth it. It's a great Bass Pro Shop. It's just like every other Bass Pro Shop, but it's up a mountain. So it's kind of cool. And I had a good time there. Saw a Dale Earnhardt Chevy S10 tribute truck.
All right.
That was there. It was kind of lowered at the time. So shout out to the
racing status. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to that truck. But yeah, that's really, I don't know. Are we at 4 minutes?
No, you're at 2. You still got a whole minute left.
2:44. Okay. Well, we got some other things coming up. This weekend, I don't know if this is taken into your 4 minutes. It may. I'm sorry. I saw you had somebody brought you a base set Charizard to Long Beach. What is the Pokemon dealing scene like at races in Long Beach?
Okay, yes, this is part of my 4 minutes, but that's fine. I traded some of my Bitnile racing shoes, some number 20 ECR racing shoes, to a great person, fan of mine named Brian. He had a base set Charizard that he tweeted at me or Instagram messaged me when I put up a photograph of my Pokemon shoes. He said, I'll trade you. I said, well, I can't trade you the Pokemon shoes, but I will trade you shoes. And so he traded me his base set Charizard. Now, again, it's lightly played. It's not, it's not a PSA 10. It's not a $100,000 card. But I would
not
say
moderately played.
It's moderately played. And we've got 10 seconds left, but awesome trade. I now own a base set Charizard. So shoes for Zard.
Shoes for Zard.
Boom, 4 minutes. There you go.
All right. There was.
All right. I'm going to start my 4 minutes. I will continue to talk a little bit about that, but boom, 4 minutes has started for 4-time Indy 500 champions. So yes, shoes for Charizard. That was wild. I had my buddy Brandon Martin there as well, who's Mystic7 on YouTube and all that stuff. Mystic Rips. He's a big Pokemon guy. Was showing him an IndyCar race for the first time. We were like, that's crazy. The Charizard is the chase card. Like, that's what you want. Now, I have one buried in my parents' basement somewhere where we have still not been able to find, which makes me angry.
Same.
But
hurts.
For now, I do have this in my collection, which is sweet. But anyway, I'd like to get into a couple subjects. This one's for the Swifties. This one's for the Taylor Swifties. Obviously, big Taylor Swift album drops, right? I don't know if you saw that, Chase. I don't know if you're a Swiftie.
No, I've been keeping up with the Drakes. Drakes. The diss tracks.
I would like to ask Swifties who listen to this, there is a song. Now, I don't know if you saw, Chase, but there was a rumor that before Travis Kelce, Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift might have been canoodling. There might have been some interacting, some messages that was big on the F1 rumor scheme for a long time. I almost asked Fernando. I did not because that would be silly. There's a song, and this hit F1 Twitter that talks about an Aston Martin, and it's like it's a certain number that I think like represents Alonso or something. Someone tell me from the Swiftie camp if there's a are we throwing shade at Fernando Alonso in a Taylor Swift album? I just want to know that. I think first of all, I like Fernando. His helmet's right here in my room, but I thought that was fascinating. Aston Martin mentioned in this song. I don't know. Anyway.
It's kind of like an Aston Martin diss track from Taylor Swift.
It is, yeah. So
it's diss track season right now.
I want to see if there's any truth to this. I found it to be fascinating. Okay. I also want to talk about Jennifer Garner. My girlfriend, we got to meet Jennifer Garner thanks to Lily Singh, who was my teammate on the NBA All-Star game. Anytime I mention the NBA All-Star game, people give me a bunch of crap for it because I posted a lot of photos for it. I don't care. There's your one mention of it. Made a lot of great friends from that. We met Jennifer Garner. Couldn't have been a nicer person. Amy went as Jenna Rink. If people know that from 13 going on 30.
Great film.
For Halloween one year. And Jennifer Garner said that was a great costume. Couldn't have been a nicer person. So shout out to major celebrities who can actually be nice people and are very, very kind. So that was an amazing experience. I got to shake Jennifer Garner's hand. That's cool. I respect her.
She have some razzles?
No, she just looked like a nice person. Like it was like someone you just wanted to be like, hey, let's have a tea. Let's maybe sit by a fire.
She's kind of like your cool aunt. This is what she reminds me of.
Very cool aunt. Yeah, she's like a cool aunt that might coach, she coaches soccer on the side. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Big soccer
like a high school
girl.
Soccer team coach. Anyway, this was something that I wish I would have got a photograph of, and I've only got a minute left. I was sitting on the plane, and my phone was dead, almost dead, and my laptop was dead. I had no way to charge a phone, so I sat on an entire flight with nothing to do. No technology, no headphones, didn't have my books with me, anything at all.
Oh, wow.
I had nothing to do. I thought I was in the Stone Age. I was left alone in my thoughts, which was disastrous. But
there's a meditation.
Anyway, there was a guy sitting to one row in front of me on my left side. I was in aisle seat, Southwest, who I believe might be related to Einstein, Albert Einstein. This might be like Jim Einstein. Like this is like his fourth descendant. This is Jim Einstein potentially because of what he was doing with his barf bag on the plane. So let me explain something with his barf bag. I got 6 seconds left, but I'm running over.
Just go over. I'm in this.
Story. So looked like this guy was related to Einstein. He had his phone on its like sideways, right? He had run the barf bag through the back of the cover of the phone. So like if I'm holding up my phone right now, you see it on screen, it's like through the back, like you know how you can maybe run something very thin through the back of the top side of the phone cover, down the back, and then out the front of the phone cover. So the bottom of barf bag was at the bottom, and he had the barf bag run through the back of the cover, and the top of the barf bag where you open to then do the thing, he had it latched on the table that comes down, the whoop, stow your tables, your tray table. So he had the tray table, locked the bag, phone, boom, barf bag. It was like watching a television. Like he had a perfect spot for the phone that was hanging from the tray table watching his movies on his phone.
Barf bag entertainment stand.
Barf bag entertainment stand. I could not believe what he was. I was like, that's the smartest thing ever. It didn't go anywhere. It was the perfect position. You could watch whatever you wanted. I didn't know you could use barf bags like that. First of all, that's fantastic. So anyway, Jim Einstein was on my plane. Jim Einstein the ninth. That was an incredible. Maybe I'm stupid, and people have been using barf bags to mount their phones all the time. I don't know, but it was genius, and I couldn't take a picture of it because my phone was dead.
Oh yeah,
and I was just sitting there in my thoughts. But I looked the whole time. I'm like, this guy is smarter than the rest of us.
That's a MacGyver move for sure.
Yeah, Jim Einstein was on my plane, and I respect that for it. So anyway, there's 4 minutes plus a little bit of time for our four-time Indy 500 champions. But man, I just thought that was hilarious. If you would have seen this, I wish I could have taken a photo and I would have tried to put it in the YouTube. But I hope
it would have been even better if he actually had Einstein's hair, like he had gray square hair. He was just sitting there.
Man, I'm going to try this next time I'm on a plane and I got something to watch. Use the barf bag, man.
Yeah,
crazy. All right, well with that, let's. I think we can get to our interview with Scott Dixon. Great interview with some would say the GOAT. So here we go. Scott Dixon on Speed Street. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we are very lucky, very, very lucky to have a person who has done something that is just so rare. Just kidding. Scott Dixon won again. He's here with us. He's won many, many times. He has one of the most successful drivers, part of the GOAT debate, maybe greatest of all time. Scott, PNC Bank Honda, we appreciate you being here. How's it going, man? You feeling good? We got our win out of the way early now, so we can get rid of all those graphics that say, is Scott going to win again this season? We got the win nice and early.
First of all, thanks for having me on, man. It's a real pleasure. But yeah, it's man, I'm tired. We had the race, and then Chip took me with a bunch of his friends to Nevada yesterday to do some dune buggy thingies and out in the desert, which was kind of fun.
I know what city's in Nevada.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't that city. I think we were in I don't even know, Tonopah. It was weird, man. It was a small town. I think it was a population of 8. So yeah, it was not the town you were thinking of.
I know. Gotcha. Okay, all right. Either way,
how high did you get? How high did y'all jump? You hit the sand dunes?
Yeah, we did. Nobody rolled. I think Chip broke a wheel off one of them, and then everybody left. In the same shape they arrived. So that was the main part.
Well, Chip was celebrating. Chip was celebrating quite a weekend. Sports car victory in the IMSA series. You obviously won as well. Honestly, another masterclass from you, I would say. There's a lot that I want to talk about when it comes to the whole fuel strategy of that race. When that first yellow came, it immediately split people's races up, and it was going to be a question. It was like, all right, okay, who's going to make this work? Is there going to be another yellow afterwards? Are these new tires, which are designed for the hybrids, like how long are they going to last? I think there was a lot of questions. When you guys looked at the race, was it a question of tire life at first? Were you concerned about which one will last longer, or was it always going to be a bit of a make the fuel strategy work type race?
I think you kind of just go in with the basic strategy first, right? Like you never know when the caution's going to come out. And honestly, you would say that we were kind of trying to go the other way, right? We were going black, green, green. So you were going to go long on the first one. Long Beach is kind of one of those tracks where if you get out of the pits first, so going a lap longer is going to gain you, probably 2 seconds on the overcut anyway. So that was kind of the strategy, right? Is that you go long on the first and then keep going long and keep trying to jump. We've done it kind of both ways in the past, but when the caution came, I knew it was pretty early, unless you got a caution later in the race. So it was going to definitely be a tough slog kind of for that, duration of the race. And it worked out perfectly for us. But, we still had to pass cars. That was the hard part. That was really the hard compromise, trying to pass power, then trying to get through the pack a little bit so that you could build up that lead and maintain that gap. But yeah, it was wild, man. I was, I have a little thing on my wheel where I can see the gap behind. And, once I saw the 2 clear the 12, I was like, here we go. This is where it's going to start to get interesting. But, yeah, he came fast, man.
Yeah, it was very interesting because as a as a good IndyCar race goes, right? When there's two strategies, you're paying attention to two different races, right? Two different groups, and you're trying to see how that worked. The track this year, did you think it was a faster track this year? Did you think it was a good race overall? Like, were you happy with how the cars raced this year compared to others?
Yeah, I was actually more surprised how if you really attacked, you could pass someone. But which I think with us, we trimmed as well. So I think that's where Joseph would have got in trouble, even if it was for another, 5 laps, is that, we still had a ton of overtake. Yes, it's not fun to use overtake when you got to save fuel, but we had really good straight line speed just because we were trimmed, so that, getting into 1 or into 9 was going to be really difficult for him unless he took like a really big lunge in 6 or 8 or something like that. So it's, I think it raced really well. I was kind of surprised when we had speed at different portions of the race that you could actually full on, pass someone quite easily, in kind of that mid pack, which doesn't typically happen. If you kind of get stuck, you might get stuck pretty heavily.
One thing I want to get to before I let Chase jump in here too, the fuel saving. Now, this is a deep question. You are obviously known as one of the best when it comes to making the mileage, one of the best at strategically doing everything that you need to do to win. Is there a portion of your career where you started to get that? Was there an era of IndyCar where like that is where you truly understood the capability of what your right foot could do, of using the rolling speed that you have each corner to slow down the car instead of just inefficiently saving fuel? Or is it just naturally your style? Like you're good at carrying rolling speed? Or does that make sense? Was there a certain era that kind of you figured out you got it? Like I understand this fuel saving thing.
I think there's always, it's always compromise, right? And I think probably the first key was when I was with Pac West, right? Like we didn't really, my first season we struggled a little bit, and then that became, the topic of conversation was like, well, how if we're going to try and win this race, how do we do it? And that's where how I won my first race at Nazareth was a fuel race. And so you understand that, but I think some of it too is kind of maybe a little bit natural as well, and just how I like the car to be very neutral. So then, when you're in the coasting phase, it obviously turns a lot better. I think a lot of the times some people struggle is when you get to that coasting phase, there's no trail brake going on, there's no weight on the front, so then the car doesn't want to turn. So for me, I think it's kind of a bit of both that really helped me in that scenario to kind of get, good fuel mileage, but also, continue to try and have that good speed.
I love that. Chase, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Scott, good to see you as always. Last time you saw me, I had a 9 shaved in my chest at Gateway last year. So, it's not there anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But,
well, it wasn't for me anyway, but that's all right.
Yeah. Well, it worked out this past weekend, man. And I'm just, it was a great race to watch, for one. For two, this is this potential to be a big year, man. You're 6-time champion. AJ Foyt, 7-time guy. So this year, really, I guess the big question is are we feeling 7? Are we feeling like this could be the year?
I think every year you start with the mindset of trying to pull that off, right? And not really just thinking about numbers, but just trying to pull off a championship. It is nice to get a win early in the season. We left it pretty late last year, and then they started to tick off a little bit. I think it helps not just the driver, but it's the whole team morale. I think obviously with the 10 getting a win and then the 9 and, this season, I think it started strong as a group. And we went through a lot of changes in the off season too, which can kind of upset things with people moving around. But I think they've done a very good job on the top of that. So I guess, yeah, man, that's first of all, we'll focus on trying to win an Indy 500, which, is extremely tough to do as well. And then we'll see how we fare for the rest of the season. But yeah, hopefully, man, that's the goal.
I like it. I see the energy in your eyes. It's real, and I'm here for it. All right.
So you mentioned Indy, right? That's obviously, it's coming right up, and it's going to be an awesome month of May. There's a lot of energy around this. The car, a little bit lighter of a car, maybe some things that people can look at that might be a little bit different. We've got Kyle Larson as well, a lot of excitement. When you look, obviously you've got Barber in front of us, of course, but I just want to take a quick peek at You guys obviously have been strong there for forever, essentially. we've run at the front there before. We have no doubt that you'll be at the front there again. You guys feeling good? Only a little bit of running at the test, but what's your optimistic outlook for the month of May?
Always good, I think. You said it. I think the Ganassi cars have always, at least in recent history, have had very good cars, especially speed-wise, qualifying, all that kind of stuff. Last year, I think a few of us had some upsets, but Marcus was still close to winning the race, and then I think Palou and myself kind of rebounded pretty good. So the test, yeah, man, nothing really. It was 2 hours of running, and kind of it depends on what schedule everybody's doing, right? It looked like there was a lot of people trying to do clean runs and get some speed. I think the usual suspects look strong, but you never really get to the gist of it, right? I think you kind of had that test as a get some laps in, but once you get to the month of May, and then once you start rolling into qualifying, then the teams kind of bring out the developments from the off season, and we've definitely, I think, got some big ones in the pipeline. So hopefully that helps us with the progression of just how the whole field does. So hopefully Honda will bring some juice as well. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Got
to have the juice. Got to have it. I hope I have the juice and not you, but that's only personal. That's only personal.
I'm hoping Honda has the juice, man.
Yeah.
Juice is good.
Understandable. I mean, honestly, great showing for Honda over the weekend, right? Locked out the podium. You and Palou, obviously your teammate up there. Was that interesting? Because we thought we saw a lot of Chevy dominance at St. Pete and completely flipped it on its head for Long Beach. Obviously, that's got to be cool to see. Both manufacturers just fighting it out. Obviously, Honda had some great stuff going on, good fuel mileage as well. That has to excite you for the rest of the street courses, the road courses. If you guys can make better fuel mileage, if you guys can be fast when you need to be, that's got to be encouraging.
It's very encouraging. I think St. Pete was a little odd. I think, what was it, 9 out of the 12, I think, were Honda's top 12 this weekend in qualifying. So they definitely had great speed, and then to get a Honda sweep. I know Joseph had his altercation there, which maybe that would have been different anyway. So but for them, being a home race, for Honda, and then HRC, and obviously Acura, that was pretty special. So it was a big deal. I think that both manufacturers are pretty tight right now, man. They kind of do something a little bit different in different areas. So I think that's what makes it so good for competition and for the difference. But, if you look at the first 2 races, I think the manufacturers are almost even on points, which is, there was a big flip, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. Chase, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I guess the next question I have is a little bit more about, Scott Dixon, the man, not so much the driver. Being out, going to all these races, for one, there's a lot of things to do during the weekends. What does a guy like Scott Dixon do to kick back and relax, when he's not inside of the car?
Party hard, man. Get after it.
There he is. Yeah. That's the GOAT right there.
There he is. There's no slowing down.
Yeah, no, you got to get after it. No, those were the old days. But honestly, I feel like once the schedules kick off here, and between doing the Indycar program and the IMSA program, it's flat out, man, with all the testing, especially on the front side. Once you start in January, and then when for May, I think once May kicks off for me, I've got 10 weekends in a row, including Le Mans and all the prep for that stuff too. So the downtime is really not until the off season, September, October, or after Petit, right, which is mid-October. But no, I love spending time with the family, man. We've got a 14-year-old, 12-year-old, and a little boy now who's 4 and has more energy than any person I've ever met, which definitely keeps me going. So we may try and get him in a go-kart this year, which will be a lot of fun as well.
Nice.
Yeah, just spending time with friends and family, man. And we're split between England and America and New Zealand, so it's a lot of flying going on, man, and seeing a lot of people.
Tons.
But a lucky spot.
You did, though. I saw this. You did recently go to the Cayman Islands with your teammate, Kevin Simpson. Was that a nice weekend? Nice little, I saw maybe there were some cameras there, maybe some activities going on. That had to have been nice.
Yeah, no, it was, the Simpsons are amazing, man. Amazing family. And obviously, Kiffer moved up to IndyCar this year, and it was the second time we'd been to the Caymans. But, my gingerness is never fun with the sun, It's,
I feel you. I'm burned right now. Long Beach got me, bro.
Yeah,
Long Beach got
my
me.
neck, man.
Yeah,
so you go, bright pink and then back to white. So I did that for almost a week in the Caymans. But no, we had a ton of fun, man. A lot of water sports, obviously, some 100 days content too, which is going to be really cool for later in the season, which is good. But yeah, everybody's got to get to the Caymans, man. It's awesome.
I love it.
Look, I even have some family that live down there, so it's very high on my list to go.
Why
to
did
the
I not see you down there, man? You should have been down there. Come on.
Well, it's a tough year for me income wise. I got to plan it out better. I got to plan it out.
I get it.
After I win the 500, yes, we're going to go to the Cayman Islands potentially.
Let's do it, man.
A lot of energy.
Let's look a little bit ahead towards Barber. Obviously, that very tough physical track, good racetrack, driver's track. For you guys, how do we feel about this event in particular? Ganassi's had some success there, quite a lot of success there, I would say, in the past. 2 in a row, maybe this weekend. Maybe we chat with you again next week. How do you guys feel?
That would be huge. I think we had a good test there. I think, some of the tests that you're seeing now, you get kind of half the field goes one place, half goes the other. We had a pretty good day, I think, but, that doesn't really guarantee too much. Last year was a wild race, I think, because the typical kind of 2-stop fuel save was, the prominent one that everybody thought would win. And then, the 3-stopper guys just crushed it. They kind of got through the field much quicker than we thought they would, which changed, I think maybe how people are going to think going into this year's race as well. So, I don't know. I love Barber, man. It's a fun circuit. It's a fun track to even just test at. It's not boring in any sense. But it races really well. But yeah, I don't know, man. Every weekend you go into now, I feel like there's so many unknowns and so many good combinations that you can't really, you could say, hey, Penske and Ganassi were quick there for the last 2 years, but, then Andretti may turn up or Shank and they dominate the race, so it's all Rahal, as they have done in the past at that place. So I don't know, man. I hope it's good for us. I hope we win, but the competition is so deep right now.
It's a great one. Chase, you got one more for, before we wrap up, one more for Scott?
Yeah, well, you guys are coming down closer to my neck of the woods this weekend in Barber. I'm in the New Orleans area, so that's like the closest IndyCar race to me. Big question. Are you going up the mountain? Are you going to get a Bass Pro Shops hat?
That is right there. Let's do it. They've got nice orange PNC ones, right? That are like hunting.
Big foamy 90s style.
Yeah, let's do it, bro. Let's do it. Are you coming or not?
I might have to now, dude. I might have to get over there and get you that Bass Pro hat.
Go to Bass Pro Shops. Let's do it. Get some fishing rods.
Let's do it. Scotty D and Chase and Bass Pro.
I love that. One more to wrap up because I know you have to go. We appreciate your time. The state of Ganassi right now, 5 cars, right? Biggest team on the grid. Have you been impressed with how everything's gone? I've seen a lot of people that you guys have hired, great people. You guys have hired some people that I've worked with before at several different teams, really good folks. Obviously, it hasn't slowed you guys down at all. So it's because sometimes I feel like when Andretti expanded a lot, people had some questions like, oh, maybe it's going to be tougher, but you've got to be impressed with the work that the group has put in already.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's not easy. I think when we went from 2 cars to 3 and then we went from 2 to 4, through those years, there was a lot of aches and pains with that. And, I think, as is trying to get everybody to work together, and especially when you got people coming in from, other teams and kind of different mindsets. But they did a fantastic job in hiring some really good people, which, as is also extremely tough right now. It's so hard to find, great people and great people that, can get the job done. But it's gone better than I thought. I kind of always come into the season open-minded. Of course, management and Chip are going to tell you, yeah, everything's perfect, everything's going to be fine.
Yep.
Right. But you never really know how that's going to work. So, being pleasantly surprised. I think it's nice. There's no big egos, man. Everybody's working well together, and fingers crossed that continues for the majority of the season or for the rest of the season.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate you as always. You're a great conversation to have with. I will see you in Indy. I'm not going to Barber, but I will see you in Indy. So good luck this weekend, and we'll see you at the track.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you, Chase, at Bass Pro Shop. So let's get it on.
Perfect.
See you guys. All right, man.
All right, Scott Dixon. Great to chat with Some would say the GOAT. Great guy. Love chatting with him. Love racing with Scott. One of the greatest guys to race with as well. Chase, what do you think? You guys going to Bass Pro Shops apparently?
I think I'm going to have to make some moves this week to be there. It's not every day you get to just go to kick it with Scotty D at the Bass Pro. So I feel like, and especially if we can get him with the old foam style caps out there, I think that's the look for him. I think it would bring back really big Von Dutch vibes.
Oh yeah. I enjoy having Scott on the show. He is great to chat about. I loved learning about a little bit his driving style. What he likes with the car and how he saves fuel better than everyone else, because that's just the fact. He just does that. So great to see him get a win, keep the streaks going. He's got like a longer season win streak than like I almost have of life. He's been winning races in seasons for 2/3 of my life existence. So that's kind of crazy. So that's going to be a great segment. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Real quick before we get to the random Indy 500 driver of the week, we've got Barber ahead this weekend. Barber is going to be a great race weekend. Bobby, I don't know, are we back on Network NBC this weekend? I would have to check. You have a look at that while we talk about it a little bit. Feel free to chime in. But Barber is a interesting racetrack, great driver's track. I enjoy Barber. Chase, let's get a couple quick, maybe predictions. I like to make a little prediction. Barber can sometimes be a fuel race. Barber can sometimes be a tough overtaking track. Now, the tires this year are new. They were meant for the hybrids, but they are definitely potentially more durable. So I'm very curious to see what that does, because tire wear is definitely that was a challenge at Barber in the past. But we're not sure what the tires will do this year. I see a lot of opportunity for potentially a new winner for the year. I think Dixon has got one. Newgarden's got one. Those are the easy bets to make. Alex Palou, of course, he won the race that didn't count, but counted for his bank account. Alex Palou, very good at Barber. Hard to ignore him. However, this track, we saw McLaren very strong at during the test. I don't want to overreact. I saw that they were strong at the test, and I thought they'd be good at thermal. I was wrong. So this time, though, I do want to see. I think we will see a McLaren on the podium. I'm going to go with Pato O'Ward gets on the podium this weekend. I'm not picking any particular order. I'm just going to pick a top three. I think Pato O'Ward, Alex Palou, and I'm going to throw in a Rahal car. I'm going to throw in Christian Lundgaard. Christian Lundgaard is going to be in the top three. So that's going to be my prediction for the weekend. Chase, let's hear from you. Let's hear a top three.
It's definitely a tough track. I did well last year. We had Scotty Mack. It was a good race.
Love that. I don't know why I left Scotty Mack out. I love to see someone different. Scotty Mack could win by 100 million miles. I would like to say that before I get criticized for making the wrong predictions again.
I feel like right now, I will say this, like my picks did not do as well as we had hoped. We did. I mean, the odds move crazy on Pro, but I'll say this much. I do like the Alex Palou. I'm going to join you in that. Palou, I think he's a previous winner here at this track before.
Yes, he is. Yes.
So him, undoubtedly, he's got to get on the points race, right? That's what they're probably looking at in that team. The other one that I would probably go with in this direction right now, I don't know why I'm feeling it, but Will Power. I think that's going to be my Penske player this week, is Will Power. I know that maybe it's not the best this track, but I feel like with what we just saw like recently with Long Beach, like him kind of getting up towards the front, I feel like there's something brewing there. Maybe.
Yep. I like that.
So Will Power would be another one. And then I guess third, I would need to go with let's keep it in line. Man, it's so tough because you don't want to be wrong.
I know. When you predict right, you feel like a hero.
Yeah, exactly. I do that all the time. It's just right now. I think the only two that I'm really looking at. If I was going to make a third one, I would probably just go ahead and throw out the name. I'll just put Joseph in there too. I'll just put Joseph in there.
That's fair. All right. Well, That race this weekend will be on NBC. We are back on big NBC, 1 p.m. Eastern. So please be a friend and tell 20 of your friends to tune in. We're going to need the help. But being back on network NBC is definitely nice. I'm excited for Barber. Barber is physically one of the difficult tracks. We've got Teddy Chairs back in for McLaren as well. So Theo Pourchaire will get a second opportunity to drive that McLaren IndyCar for Chevrolet, and it'll be interesting to see how he feels that one. He's got a street track to a very, very high G load, very difficult road circuit. So it'll be interesting. Chaotic race can be a lot of interesting traffic situations. I have struggled at Barber in the past. Definitely been a tough one for me. But I'm very curious to see how it goes. So again, Sunday, NBC. Please check it out. All right. Well, with that is our Barber preview. That is our quick little Barber interjection to the show. But let's get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. We'll make up the field.
This week, we went to the 1969 Indy 500, won by our good friend Mario Andretti. I got to see Mario on the grid. He's out there talking wild right now about F1. People said they're coming for the Andretti name. F1 is out here talking just awful stuff, saying terrible things about what the Andretti family are doing, trying to be an F1 team. And Mario Andretti's like, if they want blood, come on. Like, he's ready for it. So
yeah, that got me hype, by the way.
It did get me excited. I will fight for Mario Andretti. I will go out there with a sword and a shield. I will fight for Mario. That guy is a gangster. Dude. I love Mario. Got to see him this weekend. But Mario Andretti is not our random Indy 500 driver of the week, because I think every single human being, I would say 2/3 of the entire existence on the planet know who Mario Andretti is. But I went with the 25th place finisher. Now, this is interesting because the 25th place finisher had the exact same sponsor, car name entrant, as Mario Andretti, the STP gas treatment special. Now, the STP gas treatment special, the number 57 car, was driven by Carl Williams. Carl Williams is our random Indy 500 driver of the week this week. Carl Williams finished 25th. Carl Williams was an American race car driver born in Grandview, Missouri. Poor guy was, first thing in his Wikipedia, killed in a motorcycle accident in Kansas City. So Carl Williams liked to dabble on two wheels as well. Hate to see that for Carl. Died in 1973. Still a young man. Drove in the USAC series. Raced from 1965 to 72. 63 career starts. He was in 6 Indy 500s. 1966 to 1972. Looks like 1971 he was not in for some reason. Not sure what happened there. But yeah, he had a best finish of 9th, 2 top 10s. Yeah, RIP to Carl Williams on a motorcycle, sadly, huh?
A motorcycle of all things. Yeah, I'm actually doing some Googling right now. So, and look, it's all speculative. This is what I got to know. So you said he passed away on a motorcycle, or in a motorcycle accident in 73, correct?
Yes.
Okay, he didn't participate in the 71 Indy 500.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Hell's Angels?
No, I am not.
Hell's Angels, big motorcycle squad gang. Just big books written about it. Kansas City. It just sounds like a place. He might have been right. He might have ran into the wrong folks.
Maybe. I don't know. Speculation.
There's some speculation there.
Carl Williams was our random Indy 500 driver of the week this week. We appreciate Carl for what he did for the Indy 500. RIP Carl Williams. It's a shame that he passed away on a motorcycle. That's why I don't ride motorcycles. I decided that I am not a two-wheel guy. So, not a two-wheel guy. But, hey, we learn something new every week. Chase.
It is true.
Anyway, Can't wait for Barber this weekend. Very excited. And then after Barber, guess what? Month of May. Month of May is here.
I'm excited.
The Indianapolis Grand Prix will be coming up very soon. As far as I know, I will be driving the IndyCar 2-seater for the Indianapolis GP weekend. Lucky
you give me
me.
a ride?
I don't know. Maybe if you're up there, we'll see what we can happen. We should
ride.
probably make that happen, actually. Have you ever been in the IndyCar 2-seater?
I've never been in any.
Oh, we got to get you. Yeah, we got to get you in that for sure. We got to get you to the Indy GP somehow. We got to get you in the IndyCar 2-seater. Let's talk to the IndyCar folks and see if we can make that happen. As always, please let us know what you think. Big response to the Kyle Larson interview on YouTube. That was my most viewed video so far on YouTube, so thank you for that. If you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate that. Please give us a subscription. Let us know what you think about the podcast wherever you listen to it. As always, we will see you next week where we will talk to the winner of the Barber Motorsports race, Barber Motorsports Park race. Thank you to NTT for supporting the NTT IndyCar series. We will see everyone next week. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.